I've been reflecting a little bit lately around this aspect of speech and how to really take care of that. And I remember I was with a small group of people with my sister, who's a rabbi, and she was teaching us a group of Jewish students of hers, and I was there. This was in San Francisco, and then she just said, well, actually I have to go, so my brother's going to teach you some stuff. And so I started talking about right speech and how on the spiritual path that was such an integral matter that the Buddha put it on the Noble Eightfold Path. So he made those speech one of the most important factors in terms of our spiritual awakening. And the group of students was surprised, I think, just to hear how much speech was focused on, and they wanted more explanation. And I think that's kind of typical about how, in general, in the worldly approach, human beings can just have a sense of their own speech and speaking with others. And it's easy to just think like, what's the big deal? Just say what you need and be done with it. But we live in a sense realm, and human beings are quite sensitive. And so we're not automatons, just kind of like robots speaking, and then there's no emotion there. So both the speaker and the receiver are experiencing speech based on a lot of filters, and those filters can be through just misunderstanding or emotional filters and perceptual filters. All kinds of things are going on that make speaking with each other quite a miracle, actually, that it works. And even more so of a miracle that it works sometimes unimpeded with people not wanting to have wars with each other. And so it's very much a helpful focus for us, and something that I can see in my own practice that is probably one of the main sources of dukkha, and something that can really cause a lot of turmoil if it's not given the weight of what actually happens with exchanging words, and how we can damage relationships, we can damage the faith that other people have, and we can cause all kinds of problems intentionally or unintentionally. It can just be a lack of really seeing clearly in our own motives, or not seeing clearly that we're just not being sensitive to others. And so it's so important to really try to think about other people when we're speaking. What is the other person actually hearing, or how are they receiving what we're saying, rather than just me, and what I'm trying to get across. My specific need in that moment, or what I think needs to have happen, or if I need help, it's not necessarily given. It's a request when we ask for people's help. And so this is a learning process. It can be that some people excel in the skill of speaking with others, and it can be that others don't. And so there can unfortunately be lots of mistakes made, and sort of a war-torn country that can be left behind if one is not skilled in this and ends up harming others. And really what we see in that is without this emphasis on speech, is that it's not as if just like one harms others and it's in a vacuum. It's like a continual harming of oneself. So the Buddha uses the metaphor about our tongue is, is like he said, like a knife, and we can stab ourselves with that knife if it's used improperly. And if it's used properly, that it can be, like an olive branch. It can be something that soothes and creates peace and harmony. And that takes a lot of effort, because even if we're clear with our own intentions, it doesn't mean that it's going to come out all right. We have to just continue to think about others and whether they're receiving or understanding or clarified things. And so for myself, this is probably going to always be a lifelong endeavor to try to perfect that, or not even perfect it, but get it close to being something that's helpful and creates harmony. But I think that it's very important to really emphasize in our own practice that we can sit on the mat and create peace for ourselves, or practice walking meditation, but when we're interacting with others, it can be a whole new level, especially when stress arises. Stress in the kitchen, there's a time element. It's not like cooking the meal this morning, for example. It's not like you have 16 hours to do that. There's a sense of, okay, this there has to be an end to this at a certain point. And so at a certain level, then there can be stress that's created within the system, and then all of a sudden we're talking to people and we're not realizing that it's actually causing pain or something. And that's because we're in pain. We're stressed out. And we're leaking that stress out into others. Now it's great when other people who are very adept with this can receive that and kind of they're just completely clear, oh, this person's suffering a lot and they don't have a problem within themselves. There's no receiving from them of anything negative, but that's like an arahant, to not be affected by other people. So we're working at the level where we're at, and we're just, I think it's just so helpful to continue to bring that up. For myself, I don't see any end to trying to do that. It's just such a field of practice that's so vast, and one can give oneself to it and really try to encourage oneself, because in the end, how we speak to others is really how we speak to ourselves. If we're harsh with others, or we aren't patient, or we don't think we have time for that, we don't have time to be kind, then unfortunately it just it harms ourselves, and it's just our own repetitive behaviors of speech within our own minds. So if we don't know how to speak nicely to others, then we're surely not doing that with ourselves. So this is just that recognition that we can turn that knife into an olive branch, and we can learn so well to be a bringer of peace and harmony and kindness, even though it takes great effort. I believe that it's possible. And so in doing that, then we bring peace to our own minds, and it's that reciprocal loop that even the Eightfold Path is just doing for our own practice, our own minds. Each path factor just loops around to the other path factor and multiple path factors in order to create that awakening for ourselves and helpful, and hopefully for others as well.